In early 2011, my husband Nate and I found out that we were pregnant, and then we found out that we were pregnant with triplets. And we were really excited, really nervous, really anxious. And then at 32 weeks and 5 days, on August 2, we had triplet boys, Aiden, Noah, and Reese. Over the next few weeks, we started bringing the boys home. I went to the hospital to visit Noah and left Aiden and Reese at my mom and dad's house. And I stayed at the hospital until about lunchtime, and then I left Noah, went back to get Aiden and Reese. I was in a hurry that day. I needed to get home to meet somebody, so I was right away getting ready to leave, and Reese was already in his car seat. And as I started to buckle him, I noticed his eyes kind of bulged out and his arms flung out to the side, and his face was really red. So I quick unbuckled him from his car seat and pulled him out and kind of blew on his face to try to get him to take a breath. And he didn't. I kind of tried to burp him, and I was hitting his back trying to get him to burp, and nothing was happening. And pretty soon he started turning purple. And so I handed him to my mom, and I said, "I don't think he's breathing." And so I handed him to her, and I got the phone, and I called 911, and she walked outside with him to try to get some cold air on his face to get him to breathe, and he wasn't. And at that point, he just kind of went limp. So I took him to the living room, and I sat down on their couch, and I laid him on my lap, and I just started pumping on his little chest, doing CPR. He's not breathing, and I can't find a pulse. And at that point, he just went completely gray and completely lifeless, and he had the most peaceful look on his face. And so I just kept doing CPR, and I was screaming his name, just screaming, "Reese, Reese," trying to get him to wake up.
I was on my way home for lunch, and a call came across, says, "Baby not breathing." And most of the time calls come in, and I didn't go on them, but you know, something like this, I headed that way, and I didn't pay any attention to the address at first, and I turned down the street, and I kept thinking, no, help this not to be the Eric's house, and we pulled up in front of it, and it was.
I walked into the living room, and one of my parents' good friends, Jerry, who's also a police officer, had come.
So I walked in, and another officer, Brad Snow, was already doing CPR on Reese. And as soon as I walked in, he asked me, he says, "Can you check and see if my breath is going in? I don't think there's any breath getting in Reese." I told him no, and he immediately took Reese from being on his back. He flipped him over, and I'll never forget, as he flipped him, his arms and legs were just flopping like a rag doll. So we worked on him until the ambulance came, and the paramedic ran in, grabbed Reese, and ran him out to the back of the ambulance. And as I was looking at him laying in a cot, I saw Reese just raise his arms and start crying. And so I yelled back to the house that he was crying. And
he said, "He's in the ambulance and he's breathing." And just the relief I felt knowing that he was alive, and that even though I couldn't do anything to save him, he was alive. It was just such a great feeling.
Yeah, praise God. It was great.
So after that, he was transferred back to University of Chicago, where he was born, and he had surgery, and he stayed there for a week, and then he came back home.
I kind of worried, you know, boy, I wonder how long he was without air, and if there was going to be any permanent damage, anything like that. And of course, nobody really knew that for quite a long time, but he's awesome. He's great.
He's really smart and really funny and really empathetic, and he's a great kid. Then when it was time for them to be baptized, my dad held one of the boys, and Nate's dad held one of the boys, and then we just knew that Jerry had to hold Reese, because obviously Jerry was one of the officers there that day that saved Reese's life, and it was just such an awesome connection to see that somebody who I had known my whole life, who was a friend of my parents, had now saved my child's life. And it was a really powerful and emotional day for everybody who was there watching Jerry carry Reese around the church.
My name is Reese. I am 7. I like tornadoes and a whole bunch of other things that I maybe can't name in one day. What is a tornado's favorite food? Funnel cake.